So looking at hip strengthening using the Swiss ball. So first of all, what we can do is just make sure we have a pelvis that's in a nice steady position. The back of the ribs are held down. And you can just start off moving the ball in and out and just having the idea that you're pulling your sit bones towards your heels. The purpose is to feel the activation in the back of the legs. You'll see my toes are pulled up, dragging with my heels. Then what we can do is, without moving the ball, you can stand into your feet. Imagine that you are pulling your sit bones underneath you, which is your hamstrings, and just lift off the ground a little way. So the intention here is not to feel that your back muscles are doing the work, but you want to feel the back of your thigh muscles pulling your sit bones underneath you to lift the ball up, and the ball stays steady. If you wanted to then make that a little more challenging, you could combine the two exercises. You could pull sit bones underneath, do a little lift. I feel my hamstrings active, keeping that pelvic tilt so it doesn't change. I use my hamstrings to push the ball away, and then my hamstrings to pull the ball in. If that's a little bit tricky, what you can actually do is just do the first part, which is hamstrings pulling up. Keep the activation of the hamstrings, the correct position of your pelvis, and then you just push the ball away, and then you can just land back down again. Heels pull the ball towards you, pelvis is stable, ribs are down. Hamstrings pull the sit bones underneath you, hover. The ball travels away from you. I feel my hamstrings getting longer but holding me without shifting my pelvis. Then I can lower down, pull the ball towards me using my heels. So we can also do a variation of that on bridging. So if I have my legs out straight, so I'm pulling my heels up towards me, and I want to imagine that I've created length down the muscles of my back, those back strap muscles of my back getting longer. That lengthens down into my sitting bones, and that feeling of length then extends all the way down the back of my legs, all the way into my heels. I'm trying to maintain parallel with my legs. I keep that feeling of length, so at no point do I shorten into my back. Keep the feeling of length, keep the activation of the back of the legs to lower yourself down, relaxing your knees. So you press out with the legs, press out through the heels. Feel elongation down the back of the body, sit bones reaching all the way down into heels. Keeping the length down the back of your body as you lower back down. And letting the legs relax. So just working the front of the hip. If you bring the ball slightly away from you, knees are bent, pelvis is steady, back of the ribs are down. If I bring my right leg up towards me and I don't move it from there, and I put my hand against it, I'm now pushing my hand and my knee together. I feel activation of the front of my hip. So what you want to do is have a slightly turned out position with that right leg. If you turn it in, you'll just get the outside of your thigh. If you turn it out a little bit, you'll get your deep hip flexors. And you can keep that pressure, keep that hold, no change in the position of your pelvis. See if you can keep it there. Maybe you could try moving the other leg in and out a little bit. The goal of the exercise is to keep this leg really stable. Let's try the other side. Pelvis is steady, back of the ribs are down, up comes the other leg, slightly turned out, hand onto the knee, and then just take a moment to push the knee to the hand to the knee, feeling the front of the hip engaged, holding it, either just holding it steady, or maybe you could push the ball in and out, holding that leg in that same place, with the intention of developing strength deep in your hip flexors. So that would be more for your psoas muscle, deep in the front of the hip. Fabulous.